Pelicans are rolling after another win, and there are three things, including one really impressive thing from Zion Williamson from the win over the Trailblazers that should scare the rest of the NBA. I'll tell you what they are in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans at NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with y'all on this Monday, tipping off a week's worth of shows, and we got some good ones planned for you this week. I'll tease a few of them coming up here. But I want to get into this win over the Portland Trailblazers because I actually think it was a pretty impressive victory for New Orleans with some of the things they did. So we'll break down what we saw from Zion Williamson peaking at the right time. Brandon Ingram, by the way, if you don't know, dude is good on defense this year. Looks like he's taken a leap on that side of the ball. We'll talk about what we saw from him. CJ McCollum steps up. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl steps up. This wasn't the easiest win to get, and then they kind of win running away. We'll break down exactly how that happened and get you set for the rest of the week here. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, and join almost 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Become an everydayer. Listen Monday through Friday, and you're going to want to this week. Great guests lined up later in the week. We'll tease that in a minute or two, maybe in tomorrow's show. I want to talk more about Zion Williamson tomorrow. Can he make All-NBA? Because right now, the dude is peaking at the exact right time. He's playing his best basketball of the season. I don't want to necessarily say it's the best basketball of his career because I don't know if that's true. That stretch he had in December of 2022 before the hamstring injury, he looked unstoppable. But right now, this dude looks maybe the best shape he's been in, I think we could say, but he looks good, y'all. Like, there's just no getting around how dominant he has been over the past month or so against the Portland Trailblazers in the first half. And there's something he did in the third that I really want to hit on in a second here, though. 9 for 11 in the first half, 20 points, just nothing that the Portland Trailblazers could do whatsoever to stop him at all. But here's the thing. That's impressive, right? The 34 points against the Clippers was impressive. He's rebounding better, and we'll get into that here in a second. And all of that's really good, right? This team has leaned into the point Zion era. They went away from that earlier on in the year. I'm planning to do a show of like, why'd they get away from that? Now that they're back to it, shouldn't they have done this all along? Yes and no. And I'll explain that in a future show. But Zion finishing with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, right? Like, he's playing better defense than we've ever seen. And I think he can potentially make an All-NBA team. We'll lay out the case in his competition in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Pelicans. The most impressive thing he did in this, it's a number. And it happened in the second half of the game. It happened in the third quarter. The number is 12. 12. Do you know what I mean by that? I'm going to pause for dramatic effect here. 12. He played the entirety of the third quarter. I don't think he's done that this season, or they rarely do that when it comes to his rotations. Him playing entirely in the third when the game was closer than I think New Orleans would have liked, right? The Pelicans were struggling with Banton in this one, who scored 28 points. And it was when Zion came back in late in the first half, kind of went on a little bit of a run. And then I think the Pelicans coaching staff, realizing they needed to keep that momentum going forward, kept Zion Williamson in for the entirety of the third quarter. Usually in the first quarter, he plays about 6 minutes, subs out, takes a couple-minute break, and then subs back in with about 3 minutes to go. Then plays into the second quarter, takes a break, then closes the quarter out. And you kind of repeat that process more or less in the second half of games, depending on how that fourth quarter is going. He might have played an entire third quarter this season. I think he's played one entire fourth quarter too, or maybe multiple, but you rarely see this. So for them to realize, hey, we're down Herb Jones, we're down Larry Nance Jr. in this game as well. We normally rely on those guys. Zion's going to need to step up and play more because our backup big man spot is right now Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and we'll get to him in the third segment of today's show. That says something. One, it says something about the coaching staff making the right adjustments. They made some really good adjustments and have done a very good job, I think, over the past month or so. In the Clippers game, they were excellent. Here, realizing we got to lean on Zion playing 12 minutes, that's a really great thing. And credit to Zion for rising to that occasion, right? Like, look, this is a guy, if you don't normally do that, that can be kind of difficult for a player to go out and do here, but he did. It shows that his conditioning's right, and you're seeing that. He's just in peak form, right? He's peaking at the right time. I just went on Locked On NBA, our national show. I co-host on Wednesdays, but on Monday, they talk about the 3 biggest stories in the league with the different hosts of Locked On, and they wanted to talk about the Pelicans, so go give that a listen, by the way, your second listen today. And Zion peaking at the right time. This is when you want him playing his best basketball. This is the goal, is play your best basketball at the end of the season so that you go into the playoffs, in top form. And the Pelicans are doing that right now. So we can talk about the 4th seed, the 5th seed, and we will, certainly. But the bigger story is, who cares when the Pelicans are playing like this? They're going to like their chances against whoever they go against. And you're certainly seeing that right now. And Zion kind of playing his best basketball. One of the things I've said on the radio repeatedly over the past week, looking like a professional basketball player, doing all the things you want, extra cardio days. He said stacking his days so that he can be the best version of himself. This dude cares. He's having fun out there, right? Even comments like, yeah, if I'm in the All-Star game next year, I'll be in the dunk contest. That's a fantastic thing to say. And it's going to put him in the running for an All-NBA spot. Third team. It would be third team. We'll look at that in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Pelicans. But Zion just playing incredible basketball. Him playing the entirety of that third quarter in a game where they needed that from him. They ran away with it later, right? They ran away with the game a little bit later, but it was getting a 5-point victory in the third quarter that allowed him to go into the fourth with all of the momentum, where then they just kind of snuffed out the Portland Trailblazers and that team ran out of steam, and they get a 19-point victory. Is that what it is? Yeah, 19 points, right? Looks like they blew them out, but that wasn't the case. This game was close, intense for a little while, and Zion stepping up like that to play the entirety of the third, I think, is a really big deal for this team. No one in the NBA wants to see the Pelicans with Zion Williamson at like his absolute best, and that is what you are seeing right now. And so, look, we can talk all we want about Zion Williamson, and look, we could do this all day. But this game was going to be won with defense, particularly with Herb Jones out. And someone who's been key to that the entirety of the year is Brandon Ingram. Great defensively yet again. Let's talk about Brandon Ingram and what he does on the defensive side of the ball and how important that is to this team. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Right now, though, I'm excited to tell you about LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And look, if you're hiring for a small business, you might be stretched thin. You might not have an HR department or anything like that. You just got to get a good person in to alleviate pressure on the rest of your staff, help you make more money. And that's why LinkedIn is great. It's not just another job board. LinkedIn is a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. And LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive here. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and they might not have the resources or time to hire. So let them help you out with everything. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, breaking down everything you want to know about this team, whether it's a live instant reaction bonus show that we did, answering your questions, interacting with the chat. Go give that a listen if you haven't from over the weekend. We're here covering everything you want to know about the Trailblazers win. We're going to look at for the everydayers and become an everydayer if you're not. Zion Williamson making all NBA. I think it's a realistic possibility. There's a couple reasons I say that, including a couple of texts from people too. I'll fill you in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Pelicans. As you also know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Baseball fans, mark your calendars for March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern for the best MLB preview coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Be the first to get the local insight from the MLB experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. So let's look at Brandon Ingram here because he was fantastic in this game, right? I think he's doing one good job, and we'll look at this more in the coming weeks, of working a little bit more off ball from Zion Williamson. You know, we look at the 3-pointers, things like that I think are really important. You know, he took 4 against the Clippers. That's an okay number. Like it up a little bit, but I'll take that. He took 5 against the Portland Trailblazers. Love it. Let's just trend in the right direction regardless of whether you're making them or not. 22 points on the night. But you want to know the number that jumps out in the box score? Or the defensive numbers to me? It's like what we did with Zion. I'm going to say a number. Guess what it is? The number is 5. That's steals and blocks combined. We usually term those stocks. He had 5. 1 steal, 4 blocks in this game. You know, you saw him with a key steal too against the Los Angeles Clippers, coming in and getting the ball off of an inbound. He's done things like that repeatedly, just making defensive plays. The 1 steal he had in this game came with about a minute to go in the first half. It was a game where the Pelicans were only up 2, and he disrupted a lob attempt inside, just got in there, got the ball, and then turned it into points on the other end. One of the things we love that the Pelicans are doing this season is when they force turnovers, and they do a really good job of that in this league, they get out and run and then score in transition, which is just easy points for you, right? And then your defense gets back, gets set, and you can make more defensive plays. So this team, which forces turnovers at the 6th best rate this season, Brandon Ingram's been doing it, y'all. He's been really good on that side of the ball. He's been good this season entirely, right? Against Philly, he had 2 blocks. And, you know, you're seeing him do that repeatedly here. The steals coming in, being a better defender without fouling. I think all of those things are hugely important to this team, and he's doing it. It's not often that you see a guy in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, his 8th year in the NBA, making strides like this on the defensive side of the ball. He was a pretty decent defender, I thought, with the Los Angeles Lakers. That went away a little bit here, but now he's doing everything you could ask for on that side of the ball. Part of that is just going out and trying, right? Like going out and just trying to kind of do the thing. And he is doing that. And that's one of the things that we love to see about him. When he's bought in like this on the defensive side of the ball, working a little bit more off ball from Zion and kind of embracing that role, this shows you can maybe keep this core together. And I don't want to face that team in the postseason if I'm another team in the NBA. He has looked that good. When you look at the metrics of it, and I don't love defensive metrics. I don't think the numbers are great. Like if you ever hear someone talk about a player's individual defensive rating, do not listen to that because defensive rating is not an individual statistic. And that's the defensive rating of the team and the players out there on the court, not what he's holding someone to. If you likely ask that person what defensive or offensive rating is, they don't know what that number actually is and couldn't tell you how it's calculated. Besides the point of things here. So we're not going to look at that. But if you look at things like win shares, he's grading out on this team as the 2nd best player, tied with Herb Jones. Also shows you why that number is a little bit tricky, right? Like Herb Jones is a better defender than Brandon Ingram. So they probably shouldn't be tied, but the numbers generally seem to really like Brandon Ingram on the defensive side of the ball, or at least not view him as a negative. That at least says something when things are kind of trending in a certain direction, and then it just matches the eye test. One of the things that I've also really liked from him this year, and you've seen this the past 2 years too, as he's gotten progressively better, is he's willing to take on some of these really tough defensive assignments, right? You'll see him guard guys like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. You'll see him take on LeBron James and others. And I think that says something, right? He's not shying away from those kind of moments. And I think that tells you about his mentality, his buy-in, all of that. And you have to love to see it. Like, he is just a guy that right now wants to kind of go and do everything for it. And I think that's a pretty impressive thing that we see from him here. He held Kawhi Leonard in that game against the Clippers to 3 of 8 shooting. That was his primary defensive matchup throughout the game. 3 of 8, right? Like, that's not a good run for a player here. And so when you see that, it's showing you what he's really capable of doing. And there's a reason why you need that. This team wants to kind of be a defensive team. That's what they want their identity to be. And when you have a team that has Valanciunas, who is not a good defensive center, not a rim protector, right, out there. Zion Williamson's finally playing better defense, like looking really good and more bought into. But let's not say, historically for his career, though his numbers grade out very similar to Brandon Ingram's this year, that he's been a good defender, right? CJ's undersized. That's not a great defender either. Herb Jones is good. We know that. And then there's Brandon Ingram, who's been at best maybe an average defender, I'd say. So you have 4 guys that you would look at and are like, oh, wait, no, maybe they're not good defensively. Yet this team is consistently having a good defensive season. This is 2 years in a row now. They have the 7th best defense when I'm recording this show. And that's because guys like Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, but particularly Brandon, because that's who we're talking about here, are going out and trying and making the right kind of play. I don't know. They're reading the game really well. Some of the steals that you've seen Brandon Ingram get just are him kind of knowing what teams are doing, whether that's more film study, more time with the coaches, or just him having a strong basketball IQ and understanding the game. You're seeing him make a lot of those plays. In the postseason, is there a chance that he's not going to be an elite defender? Absolutely. But that's okay because they're doing it as a team. And I trust him if you get in a matchup with the Phoenix Suns to, he's on Kevin Durant. Like, okay, I'm not like screaming like, no, we can't have this happen. I'd say that's a good thing, all things considered. So I love what we've seen from him on the defensive side of the ball, making those kind of plays, contesting shots, going for the blocks, just doing everything that you want to see him do. And it's leading to some great results for the Pelicans. 4 blocks is an incredibly impressive thing to do here, right? Like, that's exactly what you want, including one on Banton, which you really needed in this game as well in the second quarter here. I'm looking at the blocks right now. Getting down low, rotating over as a help player. Let's look at all 4. We can walk through them together. Let's do that really quickly here. This won't take more than a moment here. One was a chase down block on Murray in transition. So stopping transition opportunities. The second one was rotating over from the corner as the low man to go contest a shot at the rim, blocks it away from Walker, which led to a Zion alley-oop from Najee Marshall on the other end. The third one here, where's Brandon Ingram? He's in the corner, comes over as a help defender, and then just blocks the shot away. Perfect. And then the fourth one he had, this is all incredibly impressive. You can go and see all of this against what he did in this game as you go to NBA.com/stats. Click on the 4 blocks. It'll show you all 4 of them here. Those were all incredible defensive plays, and he did this consistently. That was kind of a cool segment to do, even if we don't have the video up here because I don't want to use it on YouTube since people listen on podcasts. Maybe we'll do more like that. I kind of like that. Coming up next, CJ looks back. Jeremiah Robinson Earl looks impressive. Not impressive, but holds his own, let's say that. Role players just keep stepping up. Let's break it down. Coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Right now, though, I'm excited to tell you about Stitch Fix. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what you're going to get from Stitch Fix. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Just give your stylist your size, style, budget preferences, order boxes when and how you want, no subscription required. They're going to send 5 items picked just for you, plus outfit recommendations, pro styling advice. You get to keep what works and send back the rest. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop. I don't want to go into a store. I want to deal with people. I don't love ordering clothes online. Are they going to fit? Do I then have to return them? Is that a hassle? Are they going to charge me? None of that. With Stitch Fix, it's just going to save you all that time and effort. And if you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping and exchanges are always free. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon to get started. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join almost 10,000 other Pelicans fans on YouTube. Maybe you're just curious about this team because they are, by the way, 15-5 in their last 20 games, going into the playoffs, peaking at the right time. Welcome. Subscribe. It's going to be a fun run to the postseason. You're going to probably enjoy watching this team, as all of the Pelicans fans are. Now, for your second listen, look, it's still the offseason in the NFL. Make Locked On Saints and host Ross Jackson your second listen today. Get everything you need to know about the black and gold, NFL free agency, draft coming up. He's covering it all over there. So we are talking about the Pelicans win over the Portland Trailblazers, 126-117, a very good win. You know, at times this game was closer than you'd like, but when you think that they're missing Herb Jones, who has been outstanding this year, needs to be first team all defense, all defensive first team, not second team, first team is going to be an important thing. Missing him is big, right? You needed guys to step up on defense. Brandon Ingram certainly did that. You were without Larry Nance Jr. The Pelicans want to go small in this game. So that meant guys like Zion were going to need to step up as they run him at the 5 a little bit more than they normally do. But it also means a guy like Jeremiah Robinson Earl was going to need to step up for the team. He was going to be called into action. And this is why you saw them sign him to the final roster spot that they want to use instead of a guy like Matt Ryan. Both were on 2-way deals. This game is exactly why they did it. And I've told you, if you're an everydayer on Locked On Pelicans, they did it because they felt they needed the depth here. Your big man, your front court is a little bit thin. Your center spot, a little bit thin. You have Jonas Valanciunas, you have Larry Nance Jr., and Larry is definitely a small ball center, not a 4. But if one of them gets hurt, you know, at the time, you had Jeremiah Robinson Earl on a 2-way. But other than that, you're going to have to play Cody Zeller significant minutes. And look, I love Cody Zeller. This dude does well on social media and everything. People go nuts for him. I think in the limited minutes that he's played this season, 7.7 in 39 games, he has done a fine job. I don't need to see 20 to 30 minutes of Cody Zeller this season. And for the Pelicans wanting to go small, wanting to switch everything, a more mobile big man like Jeremiah Robinson Earl made sense. And in this game, with no Larry Nance Jr., you saw that why they signed him, and it was the right decision. Played almost 21 minutes in this game, was a plus 17. Win your minutes, and that's what he did. This team was very much struggling with the big man situation in Jonas Valanciunas, who didn't play in the fourth quarter or anything like that. That was going to be a big problem. Jeremiah Robinson Earl stepping in, contributing, I think is a really important thing for this team. It's just an emergency kind of break glass in case of emergency safety valve for this team, and he stepped up. And it's really great to see the role players be ready. You've seen that repeatedly with this team, whether it's a guy like Matt Ryan coming in, making shots. Hawkins gets big minutes, needs to play. He gets run, makes shots, contributes. Everyone is just staying ready. The Pelicans do a stay ready game on game days where the guys who normally aren't getting run can go out and get in a little bit more competitive action with some of these scrimmages that they do. And I think that's a really important thing. And everything the coaching staff is doing, the front office doing, the player performance and care team is doing is clearly paying off this season as they've been healthy and guys are ready to contribute. This is a really great move by the front office, David Griffin, Trajan Langdon, Swin Cash, and the rest of them to have known they needed a little bit more depth here with Jeremiah Robinson-Earl and then signing him. And finally, let's touch on CJ McCollum. Playing against his old team here, the leading scorer for the Pelicans in this game with 30 points, leading scorer in the game. He, after a couple games of struggling and they didn't close with him, right, against the Los Angeles Clippers with Trey Murphy in his place, came out with a bit of a vengeance here. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 of 12 from 3. This is the type of CJ game that we have wanted to see for a little while, and this is why you don't give up on a dude like this. In the fourth quarter, when the Pelicans decided they were going to just kind of take this one over, CJ was the leading scorer for New Orleans here. He was 5 of 8, including 3 made threes. And when you look at the shots, and again, go to NBA.com/stats, you can filter by fourth quarter, click on the 8 shot attempts he has, and you can watch all of these yourself, right? 2 of these are in transition and made 3-pointers when you just need another shooter out there that's comfortable running to the corner, getting an extra pass, launching an open 3. It was great. But some of the other shots that he had here, 1, 2, 3, were all self-creation shots. This is important, right? There's being a spot-up shooter. You can put guys in the corner. They're going to get open passes from Zion Williamson, right? Open shot attempts from Zion Williamson and his court gravity. You knock them down. To some degree, those guys are kind of replaceable, right? Any shooter that's good, put them in the corner, and they're valuable there. Those guys can't also, though, necessarily create their own offense. I like Matt Ryan. It's fun to watch, right? But is he going to do some of these step-back threes, or is he more of a catch-and-shoot guy? And there's a big difference between those two things. The dagger shot that put this one out of reach for New Orleans was a step-back where he drove, took a quick step backward, then kind of stepped to the side, launched a 3, swish, 3-point shot made, and it was game over. That's when Antonio Daniels screamed retro, hit the anthem, right? Retro Pels playing the anthem when we know the victory is locked up here. That was the shot that did it. There was a minute and a half, over a minute 45 left to go, right? He drove into the teeth of the defense when he saw a crease, attacked the basket, scored on a layup, right? You need guys that can do that too. It's not all just spot up 3-point shooting. Guys that can go get their own shot, create their own offense. All of that is a really important thing. CJ does that, right? Trey is more of a spot up guy. At times can just pull up and take a 3, but who else can truly do that on this team? And there really isn't, right? Like, it's CJ. Like, that's something that he does. That's something that's really important. So as he's at times struggled, and you don't like some of the shots that he takes, maybe, you need some of those shots because you need to keep defenses honest with that sort of thing. And that's definitely what he is doing this season. I'm trying to find the shooting numbers of the unassisted threes and things like that. Percentage of field goals unassisted. Here it is. So on his 3-pointers, 76% of his made threes are assisted, right? And so it's that other number where, oh, okay, he can just do that himself. So let's call it 75% to make the math easy on me. 25% of his threes are unassisted, where he's got the ball in his hands and he's moving around and doing other things and launching those shots. For his career, that number is actually lower. It's closer to 70%. So this is a guy who, if he has the ball in his hands, isn't just an off-ball spot-up guy. He might launch it, right? Trey, when he has the ball in his hands and he's 35 feet away from the basket, you need to put someone on him because he's going to shoot and he can make those. And that's something that CJ McCollum can do, and you want to see that. That's a threat, and that's something that defenses have to account for and scares them. So knowing that he's capable of doing that is a really important thing. Depending on the game, you got to know when you've got to use him or when it's time to go with Trey. Credit the coaching staff for knowing this. And this one was a little bit easier because Herb Jones was injured, so everyone that you wanted could play in the fourth quarter here. CJ played all 12 minutes, right? That, I do think, is a very good sign for the Pelicans in what they're doing as they really closed this one out. So let me know what you think. The 3 things we just mentioned: the Zion peaking, Brandon Ingram, great defense. CJ McCollum kind of hitting his shots. That unassisted offense is great too. Which one's the most important for this game, but which one's also the most important going forward? Let me know what you think in the comments down below on YouTube. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Be back with you all tomorrow. We're going to look at, can Zion Williamson make an All-NBA team? It's closer than you might think. I'm looking forward to that show. We are the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'll see you all tomorrow.